Hi, my name is Stephanie John, licensed therapist, and this is Reflect and Rewind. This is a place where we slow down and explore our favorite comfort shows from a therapist's perspective. We talk about what's underneath the storyline, the connection, the relationships, the patterns, and the parts that just feel just a little bit too real. So get comfy, take a breath, and let's reflect and rewind. Okay, so welcome to episode 8 of Being Mary Jane. And we're gonna this episode is interesting. It's a little different because it starts off with Mary Jane and Niecy, and it's mostly around Niecy's story. And as you know, I always feel like these two marry each other. So we're gonna jump into some of the things that has come up with them. And if you know me, if you watch all the episodes, you know what I'm gonna say. Niecy and Mary Jane, to me, same people. Same people. This is when like generational stuff is like very apparent, very real. It doesn't feel like that for most people because the outcomes feel very different, but the core of it is still very much so the same, right? The core of it is these ideas of these women being second, not taking a stand on their own wants and being clear of their own visions, and keep on like falling into these narratives and wrestling with them and trying to play it out and believing things that are a little problematic and not completely true. So I digress. This is other comment of why her having this Filipino baby, half Filipino baby, and her being black feels so beautiful for her, right? And it's interesting because she brings up this idea of this baby gets to live a pretty privilege that I'll never have.
She's gonna be half Filipino, half black. That means she's gonna be pretty. She's gonna have light skin and good hair and an easier life.
And in a lot of ways, like, that's her dream, right? And in a lot of ways, I can see exactly where she's coming from. Like, I get why she thinks that. And it's a sad reality to think that. And Mary Jane tries to tell her, like, you know, you're beautiful, you're this, you're this, you're that. And she just doesn't believe her, right? Which makes me feel like, how did she grow up? What are the things that she was hearing about herself? Where is her mama, right? Like, so many things as to, like, and I guess so, right? Because she may be seeing how she is plus size compared to everyone else in the house. I wonder how her father has treated women. We see how BJ just seems like he's everywhere. And then Mary Jane's not settled down. So I wonder if there's any proof of that for her, to where she just feels like this big limitation, you know? And then that her daughter will be able to move further in life with her. And in a lot of ways, she may be right if we're going to go by the colorism rules or like ethnicity rules of America, right? Like she may off be right. Most likely she is right in a lot of ways. But I do think it says so much more about how she sees herself than it even says the truth of how this daughter is going to live amongst whoever, you know? And that part is sad. And I think in that part, I mean, I know I'm not doing this part too much justice, but I just feel like there's just so much in the black community that could be unpacked in that scene. I'm not going to do that here. But there's a lot of things to be unpacked in that scene, because I could imagine she is mirroring what a lot of people do think, what a lot of people do struggle with. All kinds of peoples and all different ethnicities, where there are these standards and then there's you, and you just feel like you just can't fit in. And even the desire to fit in feels hard, and to go against the grain feels hard. And so it's just really complex and it's an interesting point that the writers made to put that in there. So, gonna find out this little Filipino boy, I forgot what his name is, but he didn't even tell his mom that he was gonna have this baby. And so the dad and the brother showed up for her, essentially, right? Which was like, I feel like a good look. And was just like, you're coming to this hospital and you're going to be there for this baby. Like, I don't know what you doing over here with your mom or what lies you trying to tell, but you're gonna do the things. Also, Niecy wants you there, you know? So they get the boy, he comes over, he sees his kid. There was a small moment that I kind of like side-eyed a little bit, like, bro, what are we talking about? And basically he was just like, okay, I held her. It's like, okay, can someone else hold her now real quick? And it's just like, you barely took in that moment, sir. Little boy. He's a kid. Um, but he made it. And I guess that's a step, I guess. But he didn't tell his mom, and we also learned that he got two women pregnant. So not is only Niecy, like Mary Jane, with this person pining for him, she's also one of many trying to play first. And I don't know. I don't know. But that's where we're at with these two. But I'm about to have her baby, as we know. And before she has her baby, mom mom ends up PJ ends up going to mom's room. Clearly the youngest kid, clearly the fun kid, right? The one who thinks more out of the box. And offers mom, you know, because she was saying how like she just often just doesn't feel well, and PJ doesn't understand like how bad things are for her health and stuff. And he wants to make his mom feel better, right? Like he wants her to have a nice day, nice moments, and not always feel out of it. So he offers her some weed, and she was kind of like, boy, no. But he's like, I could put an edible for him. And she was just like, oh, okay. As long as it doesn't make me fat, essentially. So they have this cute little moment, and this lady eats the weed bran muffin and is at this pregnancy just as high as a kite. The reason why I'm pulling this out is because it is a beautiful moment when you think about all these siblings and how they show up, right? We have Patrick, who, no offense to Patrick, is almost like the project kid, right? The kid that's a project, the kid that we always have to look out for, where something can always go wrong, and just the troubled kid, you know? I don't really like that term, but we're going to use it, right? And then Mary Jane, I can imagine, is like the responsible one. And she's always the one that makes things in order and picks up after everyone and yada, yada, yada. And then we have PJ, which is like the fun younger brother. He's a little bit more like aloof, just kind of be all over the place, but like harmless all at the same time. Um, but he does allow for fun and jokes and softness to be in the space amongst the three of them. So it is nice to see mom interact with her children and see how her children play these particular roles. And I wonder for PJ, what is the downside of being the youngest in this family? I don't know the answer to the question. I feel like I have an idea of some of the ups, but I am interested to know what are some of the downs. And for you guys out there, in the case of your birth order, let me know your birth order and let me know what your title is in your family. Do you like your title? Do you want to throw it away? What? Put that down there. Put it in the comments. Okay. And then there's a part where Mary Jane has, in her workspace, Terrence Mitchell comes back. And Terrence Mitchell essentially, I don't think I could say this word on social media. Uh, hmm. No longer be with us. He has decided to no longer be with us by his own demise, own choices. Um, and Mary Jane is living with a lot of guilt of that. She feels like she's responsible because she put a lot of that public pressure on him and is feeling like a bad friend towards him. Mary Jane goes as far as to reach out. Well, two things. The job tells her basically she's not allowed to like say anything or do anything, and that kind of puts her in like a weird position once again around this topic of like, do I do work politics or do I be what I think is a good friend? The last time she picked work politics. This time it seems like, well, one, she's forced out because they don't even let her work for a while, and they don't want her to say anything. Like they made that part very, very clear. But they also, this time she asks her dad for advice as to like, what do you think? And the dad kind of basically is like, no, I mean, he didn't say it, but I feel like essentially he was saying just like, no, I didn't agree with their choices. Like as black people, as the global majority, like we struggle right? Like, and there's different rules that we have to play by in order to just be on decently equal playing fields. And there's nothing that he did that was like inherently wrong, right? And essentially, we look out for our own, and he was also looking out for our own in the midst of his choices. Maybe not the best, but not wasn't rooted in nothing, you know? And we all know what type of sacrifices we have to make in order for us to be heard, like how loud we have to be in order to be heard. That's what I got from it. And in that conversation with her dad, she did decide to speak up, even though the job didn't want her to, when she was able to get back on air. And she did it in an eloquent way, so much so it seems like Kara was even able to respect her even more, just based off of how hard Mary Jane was taking it earlier. And it seems like she was, her wrestling out loud just feel like it was wearing on her, versus her decided to make a bold move and it be very professional still, to say the least, and cut through and do what the thing it was supposed to do. And her dad was watching, and he was very proud of his little girl. So I think ultimately Mary Jane's also learning how to be a better friend through a lot of these transactions, although sad, underneath the circumstances, but she is growing as a character in a case of like how she shows in her friendships. And once again, her dad is doing his thing, right? Constantly being available is pushing her as part of her growing journey around this story. Okay, so quickly, we're going to talk about Kara. As we know, Kara has also been like, I don't know the term for it, but she's basically been our mirror, our other person that plays out this other like alternate universe storyline as to what it is for a woman to prioritize their career over essentially everything. Family of origin, I could imagine, because we ain't never talk about her family, her kids, and her husband, her marriage, to some extent too, right? And she's coming into work really stressed about what does she do, and then once again feeling like she's like failing at motherhood. Some point in this series, in this storyline for this episode, we see that she's having a conversation with her ex-husband John, and he was basically reassuring her that like me taking the kids is not because you're a bad mom. It's just that realistically speaking, they will be better off with me because I can give them some sense of like stability, and ultimately it will free you up to do your job. But because you're trying to hold on to this vision of what motherhood's supposed to be or what society says it's supposed to look like, you're adding stress to yourself, right? And to essentially all of us, which is causing like disharmony amongst us. While if we do this, it can actually create harmony for us, and then everyone wins. It doesn't feel like it right now. I'm paraphrasing, but it doesn't feel like it right now. But if we do it this creative way and get out of the social norms, we can actually all be happy. And it looked like Kara actually was considering it this time. Granted, very difficult. She didn't cry for most of it, right? But it did allow her to consider something else and think about who she really is and how it's turning up and how is it affecting everyone around her. And if they did do it this way, how it will allow her to be more honest with herself and almost live her truth out loud. Not saying it's not going to come with some drawbacks, but at least it'll be authentic, right? And it would at least allow for some harmony amongst this family. So that part is interesting because my thought is like for you guys, because I know it's definitely true for me, like I had to be really creative to find ways to make my family system work, right? So I'm wondering for you guys, in having your families or having your careers, are there some things you guys had to do differently than the society norms in order to actually have a harmonious household? And what were the things that you did differently? And sometimes you guys sharing that in the comment sections will give other people who are reading these things freedom to do the same thing. Because oftentimes the society pressures will make us do stuff that we don't really want to do, and it actually don't even work for real. But if we were to take a leap on faith and be creative around solutions and want harmony in our families more than to live in these society normatives, wonderful things can usually happen. Wonderful things. So if you guys can share that in the comments, I think it'll be really inspiring for a lot of other people. And for the ones who had to do it, we create our own little community, because usually we're the black sheep of our groups in that case. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and then at the end of this episode, she answers the door. David is there. And David asks Mary Jane, did she take his sperm? Now we gonna see what that means in the next episode, because I feel like we only have one episode left, so we'll see what happens with that. But what a cliffhanger. What a cliffhanger. So that's it for Reflect and Rewind for today. That is episode 8. We literally have one more episode to go, and I will see you guys in the next video. Yeah.